sing the national anthem, all the males would have to take out their heads, and all of us would stand still. The Deputy President is now joining us. Deputy President, can we give the round of applause to the Deputy President of the Republic? Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa is with us. He's accompanied by Minister Jeff Hadebe and the chairperson of NYDA, Mr. Philae. So the choir will now lead us in singing the national anthem. Could we be ready for it? And please, those who are moving, let's stop moving and observe this very important moment. Boniface Choir, up to you now. Thank you, the choir. We may now be seated. We are going to have people who will lead us in reading the preamble of the Constitution of South Africa. Zulufelo Miiko is one of them. Can they come to the fore? Thank you.
We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of our past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by the law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa, able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. Nkosi sikelela i-Afrika. Morena boloka setjhaba sa heso. God sien South Africa. God bless South Africa. Modimo patuchedza i-Afrika. Hosi katekisa i-Afrika.
Grondwet van Suid-Afrika aanhef en grondbeleide bepalings aanhef. Ons, die mense van Suid-Afrika, erken die onregtighede van ons verlede. Huldig diegene wat vir geregtigheid en vryheid in ons land gelei het. Respekteer diegene wat hul behuiwer het om ons land op te bou en te ontwikkel. En glo dat Suid-Afrika behoort aan almal wat daarin woon, verenig ons verskeidenheid. Daarom neem ons, deur ons vryverkose verteenwoordigers, hierdie grondwet aan as die hoogste reg van die publiek ten einde. Die verdeeldheid aan die verlede te heel en 'n samelewing gegrond op demokratiese waardes, maatskaplike geregtigheid en basiese menseregte te skep. Die grondslag te lê vir 'n demokratiese en oop samelewing waarin regering gegrondves is op die wil van die bevolking en elke burger gelyk deur die reg beskerm word. Die lewensgehalte van alle burgers te verhoog en die potensiaal van elke mens te ontsluit en 'n verenigde en demokratiese Suid-Afrika te bou wat sy regmatige plek as 'n soewereine staat in die gemeenskap van nasies kan inneem. Mag God ons mense beskerm. Nkosi sikeleli Afrika. Morena boloka setjhaba sa heso. God seën Suid-Afrika. God bless South Africa. Modimo patusetsa Afrika. Hosi katekisa Afrika.
Thina abantu baseMzantsi Afrika siyaziqonda iintswela bulungisa zexesha elidlulileyo. Sibothulela umnqwazi abo baye beva ubunzima ukuze kubekho ubulungisa nenkululeko elizweni lethu. Siyabahlonela abo baye basebenzela ukwakha nokuphucula ilizwe lethu. Kwaye sikholelwa kwelokuba uMzantsi Afrika ngowabo bonke abahlala kuwo bemanyene nangona bengafani. Ngoko ke ngabameli bethu abanyulwe ngokukhululekileyo samkela lo mgaqo siseko njengomthetho owongamelileyo kwiRiphabhliki ukuze kungcibeke imisantsa yexesha elidlulileyo. Kwakheke noluntu lwentando yesininzi, ubulungisa basentlalweni namalungelo oluntu asisiseko. Kwandlalwe iziseko zoluntu lwentando yesininzi nolukhululekileyo apho urhulumente engowentando yabantu kwaye umni ngamnye ekhuselwe ngumthetho ngokulinganayo nabanye. Kuphuculwe umgangatho wobomi wabo bonke abemi. Kukhululwe nomntu ngamnye afikelele kwelona nqanaba anokufikelela kulo lobuchule bakhe. Kananjalo kwakhiwe uMzantsi Afrika omanyeneyo wentando yesininzi okwaziyo ukuthabatha indawo yawo nelungelo layo njengelizwe elizimeleyo kusapho phakathi kwamanye amazwe. Ebenga uThixo angakhusela abantu bakowethu. Nkosi sikelela iAfrika. Morena boloka setjhaba sa heso. God sien South Africa, God bless South Africa. Muzimu fatuzeta Africa, hosi katekisa Africa.
Pula Madibogo, rona batho ba Afrika Borwa, re itse ditshiamololo tsa rona tse di fetileng, re tlotla ba ba bogileng ka ntlha ya tsiamo le kgololosego mo lefatsheng la rona, re tlotla ba ba diretseng go aga le go tlhabolola naga ya rona, mme re dumela fa Afrika Borwa e le ya botlhe ba ba tshelang mo go yona, re le ngata e le nngwe ka go farologana. Rona ka jalo ka baemedi ba re ba tlhopetseng ka kgololosego re amogela molaotheo o jaaka molao mogolo wa rephaboliki gore re alafe dikgogakgogano tse di fetileng mme re age setšhaba se se theilweng ka meetlo ya demokrasi, bosiamisi jwa batho le ditshwanelo tse di botlhokwa tsa botho, tlhoma metheo ya demokrasi le setšhaba se se gololosegileng mo puso e theilweng ka thato ya batho ebile moagi mongwe le mongwe a sireleditswe ka go lekana ke molao, tokafatsa matshelo a baagi botlhe le go golola neo ya mongwe le mongwe le go aga Afrika Borwa e kopaneng ya demokrasi e kgonang go tsaya maemo a yone a siameng jaaka naga e ipusang mo tshikeng ya mafatshe a Modimo a sireletse setšhaba sa rona. Nkosi sikelela i-Afrika, morena boloka setšhaba sa heso. God sien South Africa, God bless South Africa. Modimo fatutsetsa Afrika, hosi katekisa Afrika.
Thank you so much. We are a constitutional democracy. As a people, we must understand and know our constitution. This is the supreme law of the land. Any one of us must understand and know what the principles, values are of this constitution. The best place to know this would be to ensure that young people recite and internalize the preamble of the Constitution and its values. So we're doing that because it is important that young and old know exactly our society and the basis of our democracy. And once more, thanks to the people who were reading the preamble of the Constitution for us. This would not end only in the national days as we celebrate and commemorate the national days. It will be part of what would be happening in our schools to ensure that young people, learners, understand the Constitution. We are moving ahead with our program. We will be having the Premier of Northern Cape welcoming us, and after him we'll have the remarks by the Executive Chair of the NYDA, and thereafter the NARISEC would be ready for the drill before we invite His Excellency the Deputy President of the Republic to come and address us. For now, we'll call upon the Premier of this province, Premier Lucas.
very much, Program Director. His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, Honorable Ministers, MECs, MPs, Mayors, Councillors, distinguished guests, the youth of our province, Pachaya Runa, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a real honor. Though it might sound like a cliche, it is an honor to welcome all of you to the National June 16 celebrations. And we want to thank those who selected the province to host these celebrations. Allow me to salute the youth of our province and of our country once again during this very important month and day on our national calendar. And we really wish you well in all your efforts to reach for the stars. A nation that does not put the interests of its youth at the center of its agenda is doomed to fail. At least as a country and as this government, history will judge us as having accepted that clarion call of putting our youth at the center of our programs. When we celebrate the heroic actions of our youth from across the country, we must draw lessons from their vigilance and commit to deepen our activism to realize their aspirations. Terwyl die jeug van 1976 baklei het vir vryheid en die daarstelling van 'n demokratiese, nie seksistiese en vooruitstrewende Suid-Afrika, is daar baie uitdagings vandag wat ons jeug in die gesig staar. Ons praat van vaardighede of gebrek daarvan. Ons praat van armoede, ons praat van werkloosheid, ons praat van drank en dwelmmisbruik, ons praat van HIV en vigs, ons praat van sommige jong mense wat hulle self nie persoonlik ontwikkel nie, maar ons praat ook van skaars ekonomiese geleenthede. The theme, Youth Moving South Africa Forward, instructs us to redouble our efforts and amplify our programs to improve the conditions of our young people who represent the future of our country. It furthermore calls on the youth to ensure that they skill and equip themselves with knowledge and education in order to uphold the principles and values of the Freedom Charter, so that we may never experience the injustices, persecution, and dominance of one race over the other. Laat my dus toe om nog eens die almal te verwelkom by hierdie belangrike geleentheid. En ek vertrou dat ons gesamentlik nooit ooit die opofferings van die jeug van 1976 sal vergeet, sodat ons vandag hierdie vryheid kan geniet nie. As ons kan, moet ons hulle heldedade nadoen, sodat ons kan seker maak, ons beweeg ons provinsie en ons land Suid-Afrika, geliefde land, vorentoe. Ek is seker dat met julle toewyding van hierdie jeug van vandag, ons beslis môre 'n beter storie sal kan vertel. Met daardie paar woorde, with these few words, I want to welcome all of you here, and we hope that this commemoration of such an important event will never be forgotten by the youth of South Africa. I welcome you and I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. We really feel welcomed in the Northern Cape, here in Francis Bar District, in Galeshewe. We are now going to ask Yeshen Pillay, the chairperson of the NYDA, the National Youth Development Agency, to come forward and make his remarks. Thank you.
His Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, Minister and Deputy Ministers, Premier and MECs, leaders of all political parties present, youth leaders from various political formations and civil society organizations, young South Africans, good morning. Today we commemorate the 38th anniversary of the 1976 Youth Uprisings. Every year we gather on this momentous day of June 16th to pay tribute to young South Africans who sacrificed their entire lives for all that we have today. This year we celebrate June 16th at a time when the country celebrates 20 years of democracy. One of our greatest yet least celebrated leaders, Oliver Reginald Tambo, once said, "A nation that does not care about its youth does not have a future and does not deserve one." As a country, we can safely say that over the last 20 years, deliberate steps have been taken to take care of our youth. With almost 22 million young South Africans below the age of 35, the task of providing support to all young South Africans was always going to be a tough task, requiring patience and long-term planning. Many still need support, but many have received such support over the last 20 years. Millions of young South Africans today enjoy the fruits of democracy, and millions have access to opportunities, from bursaries and scholarships for young learners to financial and non-financial support to young entrepreneurs. Since 1996, state-owned entities have assisted more than 25 million youth with some form of product or service, be it a loan, a grant, a voucher, a mentor, career guidance, or simply information to access the multitude of opportunities provided by government. Young South Africans are taking the opportunities that come with 20 years of democracy. We are a country on the move, and young South Africans are the movers and shakers of today. The generation of 1976 faced a political enemy and a struggle for freedom and democracy. Today we face a new enemy and a new struggle. Today we face a socio-economic enemy and the struggle for jobs, houses, education, skills, basic services, and ultimately a more humane society. We have a lot to celebrate, but we have a lot to confront. The challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment experienced by so many youth of today must be confronted with unity in action. To address these challenges, the NYDA, working together with government departments, state-owned entities, the private sector, civil society organizations, and most importantly, young South Africans, will embark on efforts to review the national youth policy for the next 5 years and simultaneously develop a multi-pronged youth employment strategy that is sector-specific with long-term milestones. Together, we will mainstream youth issues into society. Together, we will facilitate youth development with society. High-impact programs with significant demand will be scaled up for meaningful and sustainable youth development. We call upon all to prioritize youth service programs in order to inculcate a culture of service amongst the youth. Every government department should have a youth service program. There can be no greater reward than service to one's people and country. We must make education fashionable. We must be a generation focused on education and hard work. We must work to pursue excellence in education and skills development as we continue to open the doors of culture and learning for all. Finally, we urge all young people to take responsibility for your future, our country's future, and our society's future. Youth must lead, and government will support. We should be brave, bold, and courageous, espousing values of tolerance, respect, humility, and selflessness as we take our country forward with a sense of purpose and unity in action. As we take South Africa forward, it is the youth who will once again lead and ensure a brighter, better, and more prosperous future for all. I thank you. Viva NYDA, viva! Viva NYDA, viva! Forward to a better life for all, forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishen. The youth has spoken. Young people have outlined what has been happening in our country since 1994. Amongst what Ishen Pillay has said is his emphasis on National Youth Service. The Department of Rural Development and Land Reform have grouped the youth, is training the youth on issues of National Youth Service, on patriotism, on self-sufficiency of young people. The NARISEC people we see here in front of us who would be drilling here is the cadre of youth which is being trained by the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform under the leadership of Minister Nkwinti. NARISEC, the stage is yours.
And as you can see on your screen right here in Galeshewe Stadium, in Kimberley, the Youth Brigade and this region of South Africa, they're saluting, of course, the youth of this country, and also the fact that the Deputy President has just arrived, or rather arrived a few minutes ago, and he'll be officiating today's program. We are, in fact, joined by Mzwandile Masina, the new Deputy President of Trade and Industry. Mzwandile, thank you so much for chatting with us. And you will, of course, notice that the program is on, so intermittently we'll keep cutting you off. But what's so important about today is, as someone who was just yesterday leading the Youth League of the ruling party.
Yes, today is a very important day as we celebrate a special day in South Africa. We're celebrating the 38th anniversary of the June 16th, that generation that made sure that they face apartheid outrightly and then ensure that they heighten the struggle in South Africa. So we're very much happy to be here to celebrate with the people of Kimberley, to say that we've just came back from the decisive victory of the African National Congress, where we want to ensure that as young people, we hold the ANC accountable to its manifesto, because if you remember, the manifesto of the ANC was a very youthful manifesto as opposed to other opposition parties. So the responsibility of the youth and the ANC Youth League in particular is to ensure that that manifesto is implemented, because we don't want youth unemployment, poverty, to continue to be issues of statistics, but we want to deal with them decisively as proposed in the manifesto of the ruling party.
But Mzwandile, it's quite concerning, isn't it, that the incoming government, the new incumbents, are also not as young as we should be in terms of reflecting the demographics of the country?
Look, the ANC has attempted very much to ensure that it brings a new blood of leaders into the leadership of government, both in the executive and in cabinet. We are very much happy. We think that progress will be made. As you know, that we are rebuilding the ANC Youth League. We are in the process of ensuring that we bring much more young people into the mainstream, and we will ensure that we align that to government in the coming government. Remember, in the next 18 months, we are going to local government. We should ensure that young people are able to find expression at the level of local government, but also when opportunities arise in the list, young people will continue to find expression. We have a number of ministers and deputy ministers today who are young, who are from the ranks of the ANC Youth League. We think the ANC is making progress, including issues of gender that are being attended to by the African National Congress.
Not much time we have for you, Mzwandile Masina. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We totally appreciate it. The program is about to start, and we're now going to take it straight to the podium where the Deputy President will be addressing the nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, on this day, 38 years ago, a peaceful march by students from Soweto demanding quality education was met with brutality of the apartheid police. This triggered widespread uprisings by young people across the length and breadth of our country. Through their acts of extraordinary bravery, these young people began writing an important chapter in the history of our liberation struggle. Today, as we mark the National Day, the National Youth Day, we pay tribute to all those young people who sacrificed many of their lives so that you and I are free today. We also honor those young people who continue to put their collective shoulder to the wheel in an ongoing effort to build a country of our dreams, a country we can be proud to call home. Fellow South Africans, the youth of 1976 advanced further our struggle for liberation. Today, as we engage in the struggle to defeat unemployment, poverty, and inequality, we once again look up to our young people to follow on the footsteps of the generation of 1976 and help move our country forward. As one of our leaders said many years ago, Moses Kotane, thus, at this hour of destiny, your country and your people need you. South Africa is in your hands, and it will be what you make of it. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, it is my honor to invite His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, to give us the message for the day. Deputy President, we are all ears. Thank you. Thank you.
Dumelang. Goeiemôre. Program Director, Minister Natim Tetwa, Ministers of the Government of the Republic of South Africa, Deputy Ministers, the Premier of the Northern Cape, Ms. Sylvia Lucas, leaders of various political parties that represent our people at national, provincial, and local government level, members of the Provincial Executive Committee of the Northern Cape Government, the leadership of the National Youth Development Agency present here, the leaders of various youth formations in our country, ladies and gentlemen, we feel honored to share this important day in the history of our country and indeed in the calendar of the Republic of South Africa with the youth of the Northern Cape in Kimberley. We are here to celebrate, together with the youth in this province, to commemorate the heroes and heroines of young people who defined a new era in the history of the struggle of our country. The class of 1976 ignited widespread resistance around the country and exposed the brutality of the apartheid regime to the world. The 1976 generation confronted a system that had been described by the nations of the world as a crime against humanity. Against all odds, these young people of 1976 challenged a formidable enemy, and they did prevail indeed. And by so doing, started to write the history of our country, in which young people continue to play a key and important role. Thanks to their struggle and the struggles of those who followed, today the youth of our country, the youth of 2014, live in a country free of racial discrimination and oppression. They have the right to education. They have many other rights indeed, and they also have opportunities, and they also have their dignity. Yet, even though we have defeated apartheid, the youth of today are still confronted by the legacy of apartheid. The youth are particularly vulnerable to the problems that beset not only our country, but many other countries around the world. Unemployment, poverty, inequality, and low skills. More than a third of the young people of South Africa form the labor force. They are unemployed. In every province, the unemployment rate among the youth is more than double that of people over 35 years of age. Youth unemployment is probably the single most critical challenge facing South Africa today. Indeed, many countries around the world are facing precisely the same problem. If we can effectively address youth unemployment, not only will we lift millions of South Africans out of poverty, but we will also be able to place our country on a trajectory of sustainable and inclusive growth. We celebrate Youth Day this year just a few weeks after our fifth democratic administration took office. During his inaugural address on the 24th of May, President Jacob Zuma said, "We have successfully completed the first phase of transformation. Today marks the beginning of the second phase of our transition from apartheid to a national democratic society. This second phase will involve the implementation of radical socio-economic transformation policies and the programs that will give meaning to it over the next 5 years." He said that economic transformation must and will take center stage during this new term of government. Youth must be at the center of that economic transformation. Our young people, through the breadth and the length of our country, need to play key and important roles in the economic transformation of our country. They must take up the opportunities that the democratic government is ushering out to them. They must take the lead and make sure that they truly transform our country at the socio and economic level. Even though youth economic participation has improved in absolute terms since 1994, and while over the last 20 years the government has created many opportunities, the young people of our country still face immense challenges. We therefore need to focus on special measures to ensure that the young people of our country have access to training, they have access to work experience, they have access to jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities. We must make sure that they are able to take up these opportunities and forge ahead with their lives. We have indeed made progress in a number of areas. Twice as many young people are in university today than they were in 1994. In this regard, South Africa indeed has a good story to tell. Nearly half of the 6 million work opportunities that will be created, we want to see them being created for young people. In the last 5 years alone, 2.7 billion has been set aside for youth entrepreneurship, finance and support. The amount available for student bursaries has doubled. It is true that we do need to do much more than what we have done. We need sharper focus, better implementation, and act with greater urgency in as far as furthering the empowerment of young people in our country. One of the most important factors contributing to youth unemployment is the relatively low skills amongst young people. This is perhaps the most devastating aspect of our apartheid inheritance. That is why the National Development Plan has placed such emphasis on education and development, starting with early childhood development and focusing on the first 1,000 days of the life of a young person. Progress in these areas will have a profound impact on the prospects for the next generation, and that will follow. At the same time, we need to improve the prospects for today's young people. We need to develop the skills that the country needs now. The intake of students for post-school education will have to be massively expanded over the next 5 years with the aim of enrolling the majority of youth aged between 18 and 23 years. Government will direct contractors who get business from government to help increase the number of engineers, artisans, project managers, machine operators, and financial managers. State-owned enterprises will increase the number of training opportunities that should be on offer to young South Africans. The private sector will be encouraged to also increase the numbers of well-skilled young people. To this end, we are increasing the training opportunities for young people through various institutions. Part of this effort includes the establishment of 2 new universities in Mpumalanga and here in the Northern Cape. We expect the Solplaatje University to have a profound impact ensuring that skills and knowledge and talent are retained in this province. The Solplaatje University will be a leading university in this province, and we expect many of you as young people, particularly in this province, to enroll in the Solplaatje universities in your thousands as you deepen your own knowledge, your skills, and make sure that you are ready to make a contribution to the economy of our country. Our experience has shown that even with improved education, young people struggle to find work. In part, this is because employers are reluctant to hire people with little or no experience. And young people have been struggling and suffering from this type of approach. A major priority is that we should provide work experience for new entrants in the workforce. As a starting point, the public sector will be required to increase the number of spaces for graduates so that they can get experiential training. The declaration that was adopted at the presidential Indaba on youth skills and jobs earlier this year highlighted the issue of internship programs in the state as well as in the private sector. Within the state, there should be a number of internships that young people should get, starting with about 20,000 a year from 2014 and rising progressively to 60,000 a year by 2018, resulting finally in a total of 200,000 young people who should be given an opportunity of first work experience through government within the next 5 years. The private sector should significantly scale up internships up to about 5% of total employment by 2019. We are proceeding with the implementation of the Youth Employment Incentive Scheme. This aims to lower the costs and risks for firms to take on new entrants. We will continue to monitor its implementation to ensure that it does not result in the displacement of older workers. The major drive of economic growth over the next 5 years and beyond is our investment in infrastructure development. Over the last 5 years, we have invested 1 trillion rand in infrastructure. Over the next 5 years, we expect to invest even much more than that. This program has benefits that stretch across the economy. It is a program through which jobs are being created as we speak now. It is a process through which skills are being developed as we speak now. It is a massive process through which our manufacturing capability as a country is being further developed. It is indeed a process that is improving people's lives and boosting the economic prospects of our country and its capacity. While all this will benefit young people, we have in addition undertaken to make sure that there are set-asides of at least 60% of the jobs that will be created through these infrastructure programs, that they should be set aside for young people. This is a very important initiative by the government, that 60% of opportunities that will be available in infrastructure programs should be made available to young people. This will be combined with improved training by our further education training colleges to ensure that there are enough young people with the necessary skills. Fellow South Africans, it is on days like this that we are reminded that social change is not brought about by governments. It is achieved by people, ordinary people at that. Ordinary people wherever they may find themselves and whatever means they may have at their disposal. It is therefore critical that all stakeholders contribute to this effort. It is for this reason that we last year welcomed the adoption by all key stakeholders of the Youth Employment Accord, and why we remain determined to work with our partners to see to it that it is implemented. What our country needs is a coordinated, multi-pronged response to youth unemployment. It is a multi-pronged strategy that must be present in every policy discussion right across the breadth and the length of our country. It is a multi-pronged strategy that should form part of every law that is drafted, in every strategy that is devised by various sectors of our country. It must be on the agenda of every government department, every state agency, every corporate and every institution of learning. At a social level, we have made remarkable achievement and progress particularly in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Young people of our country are called upon to continue with our campaign on prevention of new HIV and AIDS infections. We must live up to the goal that has been set up by the United Nations AIDS Program of zero infections as we move forward. South Africans are living longer and are healthier than they have been in the past. Mother and child transmission of HIV has dramatically decreased. More than 20 people have taken the HIV test, and the awareness levels about this disease are much higher than they've been in the past. And the issue of the stigma on HIV/AIDS has been substantially reduced. We urge all of us not to be complacent, much as we have made progress in this area. We also urge you to accelerate the fight against drugs, alcohol, and substance abuse, which are tearing our communities apart. This is particularly relevant to young people. Many young people across the streets and the villages of our country are taking up drugs and are becoming susceptible to too much alcohol abuse. We need our young people to lead healthy lifestyles, free of any substance abuse. Fellow South Africans, this year, Youth Month is being celebrated under the theme, Youth Moving South Africa Forward. The many activities being undertaken across the country this month demonstrate that our youth have embraced this notion, and we applaud the youth for embarking on many activities to mark this very important month of Youth Month. It does show that the young people of our country are becoming more and more patriotic, and they are taking up their responsibilities as young citizens of our country very seriously. This we applaud you for. We welcome the work being done with respect to career guidance, entrepreneurship, health awareness, the spiritual welfare of the youth, political and environmental awareness, the initiatives that you are taking to deepen and to broaden social cohesion, and how you are taking initiatives to tackle drug and substance abuse. This is all commendable, and we pay tribute to you for taking all these measures. It shows that the youth are taking their responsibility for their own development seriously. In this regard, we commend the youth of this province, especially the 100 volunteers who have launched an initiative to build 76 houses this month through the Youth Build Brigade. There they are, standing right in front of us. Let us give them a round of applause, because they are demonstrating that young people can truly lead. I was privileged earlier this morning to be taken to the houses that these young people are participating in building, the training that they are getting, where they are acquiring skills in the building trade, in the built environment. It does demonstrate that these are young people who have taken up their own future very seriously, but more importantly, who are beginning the process of contributing to society and the development of our communities. A tribute to the class of 1976, these 76 houses will benefit the most vulnerable in our society, the elderly, people with disabilities, and women and child-headed households. We must thank these volunteers and the stakeholders that are involved, including the Francis Bard District Municipality, the National Home Builders Registration Council, the National Youth Development Agency, the Departments of Social Settlement, Human Settlements, the Department of Energy, and others who made this contribution to this effort. This is true patriotism and a perfect example of how working together, on how the young people of our country working together with others can move South Africa forward. Together we must work hard to build a better, a more caring, more equal, and more prosperous nation. We have achieved much in the last 20 years. Let us work together to achieve even much more. The Northern Cape today has shown us how we can show that we are a caring society through these houses that they are building. They have shown us how we can care for one another. They have also shown us how young people can take the lead and take initiatives of this nature to ensure that they care for society and they care for the elders in the nation. This is the way to move South Africa forward. And the people and the young people of the Northern Cape have clearly demonstrated this, and it is all there for the whole nation to see. So I pay final tribute to the people of the Northern Cape for this wonderful initiative and also for hosting this Youth Day here, where many of you in your thousands have come to attend this Youth Day celebration. We finally pay tribute to the youth of 1976 who took our country forward, and we also pay tribute to the youth of 2014 who are ready to take this country to greater heights, to move South Africa forward. And I pay tribute to the youth and I say, Viva the young people of our country, viva! Viva the young people of our country, viva! I thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, there you have it, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing the nation while he is live here at Galeshewe Stadium in Kimberley. He, of course, paid tribute to those youths of 1976 who made sure that the country was burning to ensure that they attained that freedom, and also again ensure that we do not, or we are not forced to learn in Afrikaans in black schools. But he also paid tribute to the youth of 2014 who are, of course, supposed to take this country forward. The youth like these ones behind us here, who this morning were building houses for one another instead of wanting to be given the hand that does instead of being given. But we've been coming through to you live here. I'm not alone, or haven't been alone. Of course, I've been with my colleague Gillian Pillay. Gillian, most interestingly, you were chatting to some young people from local, right? People from Galeshewe, people from Kimberley. But what struck me the most, in fact, was that there were a lot of positive stories that were emanating from them.
I think one tends to always focus on the negative. This is a very small population within this province, but amazingly, such positive stories coming through of young people, yes, who have had the support within their families, who have had the school support, but also who we spoke to youth who have done it for themselves, who might not have been in a situation financially to go and study, but an example of a guy who is starting his own business, studying part-time, and it's not a big business. It's a simple mobile vending food business. And those are the kind of warm stories that they wanted to share today with us, so that many youngsters who are in that position, who are disillusioned, discouraged by not maybe getting an opportunity, many of them are now might just put their hands up as opposed to putting their hands out.
My colleague Julian Pillay, we've been coming to you live from Galeshewe in Kimberley, and we'd like to say it's been a pleasure bringing all this to you. We take it back to Johannesburg.
Gillian Pillay and Yolisa Njamela bringing us that broadcast from Galeshewe in Kimberley, where we saw that address by the Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm still in studio with my guests, and perhaps as we wrap up, your closing thoughts in 15 seconds long with regards to that address by the Deputy President. Tulani, we'll begin with you.
Well, for us as the South African Youth Council, we are happy to see that the Youth Employment Accord is the cornerstone of all efforts from government to respond to challenges of youth unemployment, because it is the Youth Council that led the youth sector participation in the negotiations of the Youth Employment Accord. The only thing that must be done to accompany that is to empower young people with skills for self-esteem and resilience to take up on the opportunities.
All right, and Palesa?
From us, from the Master Builders Association North, I'm just very glad to see that infrastructure development has been put on the forefront as the way in which youth can use that to change their economic outlook, because trade and upskilling yourself is the fastest way in order for us to get entrepreneurs, and that's what we need for economic development in the country. And as an association, we advocate for that. So for me, that was, my highlight.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Palesa Kabi, the Head of Communications and Marketing for the Master Builders Association North, and also Tulani Chefuta, the President of the South African Youth Commission. It's absolutely wonderful having you in studio with us. A great thanks to our reporters, Yolisa and Jamela, Gillian Pillay, and also Criselda Lewis, who's been broadcasting from Soweto. The programming will continue as usual on Channel 404 and SABC1 as well, programming